Part 1. There's a particular kind of exhaustion that comes from focusing time and energy on the unimportant, trivial, unremarkable, and ordinary. You know the feeling, the sense that everyone else has decoded something you missed, the quiet panic that you're behind. Here's what I've learned. The people who seem to move with ease, they're not smarter than you. They're not luckier. They've just stopped trying to be original by being different. They've started being original by being themselves. They don't give their attention to and spend their energy on things that don't actually matter to them. And that's what we're here for today. Not to add more to your to-do list, to subtract, to simplify, to come back to the one thing only you can bring. Let's begin. Part 2. How commonplace shows up. Commonplace often manifests as the thought form that says, if you just did it like that, you'd finally get somewhere. And because you're smart and pay attention, you listen. Sometimes it arrives as a "this is what's working right now" recommendation. But here's the trap. You start shaping yourself to fit the rigid shape that already exists. You start using their words, structure, pacing, and formula. And bit by bit, the thing that only you could make becomes something anyone could make, because you doubted your talent and outsourced the creative decisions. Commonplace isn't evil, it's just loud and it loves company. The question isn't whether you've been influenced by it, the question is, are you still there underneath it? Part 3. The psychology of creativity, imagination, and ingenuity. Here's what the research actually says and what the poets have always known. Creativity doesn't happen when you're trying to be creative. It happens when you're safe enough to play. The brain's default mode network, the one that lights up when you're daydreaming, showering, walking, staring out a window, that's not distraction, that's the source. Ingenuity isn't about having more ideas, it's about recognizing which ones are yours. And imagination isn't escape, it's the only way you've ever changed anything. Every solution you've ever found, every problem you've navigated, every moment you've chosen differently, you imagined it first. You just forgot that counts. Part 4. Metaphor. The empty room. Imagine an empty room. Not a small one, a generous one. High ceilings, good light, a window that opens if you want it to. Right now it's bare. No furniture, no decoration, no sign of who lives there or what they value, and that's the point. Because most of us don't live in an empty room. We live in a room that's been filled for us. Other people's tastes, other people's priorities, other people's versions of what a life should look like. We inherit the furniture. We stop noticing it's even there. But creativity, real creativity, doesn't start with adding more things to the room. It starts with clearing it out. What do you actually need in here? What do you actually love? What did you choose, and what was just left behind by someone who passed through? The empty room isn't a lack of ideas, it's space for yours. And here's the thing about space. Once you have it, you don't have to fill it all at once. You bring in one thing, the thing that matters most, and you live with it. You notice how it feels, and then maybe you bring in another. but you never fill it just because it's empty. You fill it intentionally. That's the difference between a room that looks like everyone else's and a room that looks like yours. Part 5. Reframe, invitation and pattern interrupt. So here's a different way to think about it. What if the goal wasn't to stand out? What if the goal was to settle in, to trust that the more you become yourself, not a better version of someone else, the more the right people will recognize you. Not everyone, just the right ones. And for the rest of today, just today, what would happen if you stopped trying to optimize? What if you closed the tabs, ignored the metrics, took a walk without a podcast, sat somewhere and let your mind drift? Not because it's productive, because that's how it works. Part 6. Hypnotic Close. And if it's comfortable for you to do so, you may allow your eyes to close, just for a moment. And as you do, you might notice that nothing is required of you. No performance, right answer, or improvement. Just permission. Permission to let the noise fade. Let the day settle. And to remember that beneath every should, need to, and comparison, you are here. Still here. Still whole. Still the only one who can make what you make. And as you take a breath, you might feel something shift. Not because you fixed anything, because you stopped trying to. And in that pause, something that was waiting finally has room to arrive. Slow breath. Slow return. When you're ready, you can open your eyes.